Alright, how's it going, everyone? This is Anon. I'm back from a long hiatus. Let's see what we got going on today. Alright. Let's see if this turns on. And it actually connects to everything, because it's been a long time. Alright, I don't see it actually on that it went live. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Alright, how's it going? There seems to be one person in here. Just getting started, taking a look at content. What's going on, Hustle? How are you, bud? I am just getting back into the swing of things after spending some time with, how's it going, Ben? Been spending some more time with my family. My wife had asked me to make some more time, and so that's what the last couple of weeks have been, is basically just me getting caught up more on family stuff, and obviously everything that goes with that, which means a little bit less time for stock market stuff, but spending some good quality time with the wife. So hopefully I can find a good balance going forward. All right. So consolidation for Ethereum. Just been chilling down here. Basically hanging out right here. I'd say it's probably about here-ish. Let's see. Let's take a look where that line draws out. A little bit off. I'm just trying to basically, let's see. This is about our midpoint where we've been hanging out. Probably about here-ish, which is about 109. What's up, Alexander? How are you, bud? Yeah, I'm still alive. MMTLP S1 approved stock become private whenever you have a chance. I have not seen that one. Let me go ahead and pull it up, because there's going to be a bunch of stuff I'm not caught up on. So let's take a look. All right, MMTLP. MMTLP. Meta. What is this? Meta material. All right. Let's take a look at what's going on with this thing. Net income down, diluted earnings per share down, margins got better, revenue is up. Oh, this is an OTC, isn't it? Oh, what's up, CJ? Yes, the kiddo's doing better. He is officially, I think, over being sick until the next time he's sick. Or when his sister gets sick and then he gets sick. Yeah, those COVID babies. he wasn't exposed to germs for like 2 years, and now he's like surrounded by him. What am I reading? All right. What is Houston Wade doing on here? Isn't he the geologist from DME? Or GME, sorry. What's up, Valjean? How are you, bud? I am back. I'll be trying to do these a little bit earlier next time. I just was finishing up some details with my wife of things that we need to do. All right, so... All right, it's rocketing because they'd moved over $4 a share. Currently it's $6.40, and it's way towards the 751 breakpoint. What's up, Jonathan? How are you, bud? Yeah. Fam has gotten better. I was working on some stuff, spending a little more time with the wife, and making sure she told me she was feeling a bit ignored, and I totally understand that. We didn't spend a whole lot of time with each other, so I just took the last couple of weeks and put in some more family time. So I'll be coming back. I'll probably just do them for like an hour or two each night, or I will change formats and just put out regular videos. Just like not so much live streams as much as I could just put out like a video if you guys want me to cover something. Or a series of things, and I can just go over the kind of like what I normally do in the live stream, just but in like more, I guess, organized manner, so they're not as long. Let's see. I'm taking a look at this one. This is the metamaterials that everyone's so high on. So you're saying that basically the S1 got filed. Is that right? All right, let me see. S1 approval. Hold on a second. Let me delete this, sorry. In here. So I think I started one that was the wrong. Hold on. I'll take this one and post it in this one. That's... All right, there we go. How's it going, guys? Yeah, so I guess some of you guys were in the other one's waiting room. Sorry about that. I messed that up. How can I delete that? Edit video. Can I delete it? Just delete. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay. So I think we're good now. All right. Sorry about that. That was probably confusing, but we got some more people. All right. Late night with Anon. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to try to knock at MMTLP, which is Meta Materials, and I will cover Ethereum, DTC, and I'll cover some of the VIX stuff. Okay. All right, let me get caught back up. All right, so here we go. And as always, if you can throw a like on there, it does help. I guess the algorithm. I'm a crappy YouTuber anyway, so. All right, so let's pull up this S1, see what it says. Meta Materials. I don't know. Every time I hear that, you know, something's going to be forced out during a merger or a, like, dividend, like the same thing was supposed to be with AMC and APE, and it obviously went horribly wrong for retail. So I get a little bit like, let me see. Let's look up a couple things on this because it's an OTC, so not a lot of companies cover it. So like, number one, let's see how many shares outstanding they have. Okay. Total debt, total cash. So they have more debt than cash. Not available. It's saying 322 million for the float, but it doesn't give me the shares outstanding. How big is this market cap right now? Like, I'm logging into Ortex. Hold on a second. I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. But TLP. Has anyone done a bunch of like good DD on this? Because I'm not seeing a ton because it's OTC. Like, I want to know the float and I want to know the shares outstanding. Because if it is 322 million shares outstanding and it's $7 right now, that's a huge market cap compared to what its balance sheet says. So this would be definitely like a squeeze. I mean, buying in the 2s and 3s is one thing. Buying at 7 is like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of something that's ran this much because it's like, I need to read what the S1 says. All right, let's see. So this was their 10Q. Metamaterials. All right. Current assets, 53 million. Total assets. Assets held for sale. What are they selling? Is this thing for sale basically the shares? They're selling these, like, it's a, I mean, from the balance sheet, they look like obviously not great. You have like $500 million, or is this, wait, is this in hundred thousands or is it in millions? Okay, maybe this is just in thousands. So this is actually 53 million. This is 133 million. I'm so used to reading like large cap ones that you would think that this, I mean, that's still total assets 508, total liabilities 93. So I mean, that would be, then they would be in much better shape than, if that's true. That's total liabilities right here. And they're saying that assets are worth, that's a lot of goodwill though. I mean, that's a lot of goodwill. I would rather look at this, total current assets versus their total liabilities, which is there. So like, that to me makes more sense, because there's a lot of stuff like intangibles, like this is soft stuff, like operating lease of assets, like goodwill. This is all stuff that's like fluff. So yeah, I mean, these are very inflated numbers. The cash flow positive, let's see. Gross profit. Operating loss. They're having a net loss. It's getting better, but. And okay, so 301 million. All right, so let's say it's 301 million. All right, so what did we say? 301,488,660 times, right now it's 7, right? It was, what's the stock trading at? 7-Eleven. I mean, a $2.1 billion market cap at this point, that doesn't make sense for what this balance sheet shows. So, I mean, the Torchlight RTO reverse acquisition. Wait, does this have something to do with MMA, what was it? MMAT? Is this that, like, one that should have squeezed and then the merger screwed it all up, and now they've basically are getting bought out? Is that what's going on here? Okay. Like, there was shady stuff going on in that merger as well. This reminds me of Spurt, except for Spurt hasn't ever got caught, whereas these guys look like they got their pants around their ankles, because like, so this is the, okay, that makes a lot more sense. I'm like, so this is the dividend, right? This is the spinoff. They've got control of the MMAT ticker, but this is like the spinoff, right? This is where all the short interest and all that stuff was held. Yeah, I'd be curious to see how they did this, because basically, for anyone that doesn't know what happened with MMAT, MMAT was Torchlight before, I think. Was that was called? Anyone else remember this? I think it was called like Torchlight or something like that, or Torch something. And they were going through a merger, and everyone was like, "Oh, this merger is going to, cause all the shorts to have to close," and it didn't. The stock went down hugely as soon as they merged. And the same sort of thing happened with support.com. If you look at the ticker SPRT that turned into GREE, the same thing happened. The merger was a disaster. It got rushed, and then it just went down the tubes right before the largest gamma ramp I've ever seen. Like, literally, there was like millions and millions and millions of dollars in the options chains, and there was no way they had those shares. And what the company announced essentially was that, they were going to rush this merger before the options chains that week, and they pushed out the information without even brokers knowing what was going on. And then, like, the stock dropped from, I believe it opened at like, I don't know, $90 a share or something like that, and then it quickly went down to like, I don't know, like 8 or something like that. It free fell. But like, it did open like post split at a higher thing, and it was just a nightmare. So I had heard, though, people saying, like, oh, this is different from MMAT, and it did the same exact thing, but it's always been like this weird feeling in the back of my head that I know that, like, they basically pulled the fast one, and they were able to probably close out, maybe not all the short interest, but like the way it went down, like there was no way they had those shares. Like they had so many in the money options at that point. There was no possible way. They were just basically driving down the price to basically get it under control, because they paid for it at whatever price, I believe, it closed at. So they needed it to close down. And I'm thinking the same thing happened on that merger with MMAT and Torchlight. I never dug, though, deep into what happened. So they had 360. Wait a second. That's even higher then. So remember we said it was 2.1 billion? That's not correct. We take 360. Oops. I'm being dyslexic. 343 times 711. Oh. Times 11. Really? That can't be right. No, that can't be right. I must have put an extra number somewhere. Let's try that. 360,389. Oops. 353. Oops. There's a point in there. 837,343 times 711. 2.5. 2.5 billion instead of 2.1. That's crazy. The market cap? Yeah, I added an extra 7 at the end. But yeah, still, I mean, like 2.5 billion market cap. How many shares do they need to cover? Like, I don't know how much more upside this has. I mean, could it go even higher? Sure. But it also, you're probably going to watch the market screw over retail if it can. So I'd be super curious to see what happens with this, because this was one of those that probably should have been forced out during the merger, and it all of a sudden, strangely, like a year later, or a year and a half later, all of a sudden it's randomly running, right? So I'll dig more tomorrow, because I'm sure there's an interesting story behind it. I just don't want to spend the entire time I have on this ticker. I'm boring you guys with digging through S1s. Okay, so we needed to cover DTC. Okay, so anyone that's not familiar with this ticker, basically DTC was up here in the 20s. It launched, and then since then it's been basically this falling knife. And this is not a great, is it on logarithmic, or let me see what it is. High and low. Yeah, I'll probably have to manually play with it. Let me see if I can pull up something that's a little bit easier to view. Trading. Okay, here we go. This is a little more palatable. So basically, if you zoom in a little bit, this thing's been basically just falling knife. Now, look how many times this thing tries to hit bottom. Like, if we were to, like, draw out... Can we add a line? Sure. Price line. Visual. edit that? No. All right. All right. So if you go back here, you can see tried to bottom there, right? There, there. Came back down, got close there, bottomed out again there. I mean, they've been through a long period of accumulation. They got a little run before their earnings, and we have earnings coming up. So what I'm expecting to happen is this. We will see how they did, because obviously it's going to matter how earnings goes for them. So my guess, it will go one of two ways. Look here, it hit the low and then started running up right before earnings. We're now about a couple days out from earnings, which is about the 10th. So I would expect it to maybe start moving right before. So maybe like, let's see what days would make sense. So earnings is next Thursday. So I would think maybe into the later part of this week, into early part of next week, we could see some moves on DTC, one way or the other. Either not like parabolically, but like you can see it went from basically like 450 to it hit a high of 7 before coming back down, right? So this is a stock with very low liquidity. Like there's a lot of like institutional ownership. Now we'll see, obviously, when they file, if there's been people who have been getting out. I would guess there's probably some people that have been getting out of DTC just because of risk on men. They're trying to regulate their risk, and that's understandable from like a mutual funds perspective, or these are small cap stocks, and typically they carry more risk, obviously. But if you look, for example, let's see, will they go on this one? They did beat on earnings per share and revenue last quarter, but yet they still went down. All right, so I mean the revenue's been going up solidly. They have made a little bit of income last year, or I guess it's still last year technically for another 2 months. Yeah, I mean this is just I'll show you ownership. I think that's probably a better indicator. Here. So here's DTC on dilution tracker. As you can see, the float hasn't changed the entire time. It's just been these 94 million shares between Class A and Class B. If you look at the institutional ownership, you'll see it's pretty high here. It's actually the short interest has gone down on it. And at this point, the only thing that's a little bit concerning is the amount of cash. At one point they were positive cash flow. Last time, I think they were slightly less. They still have 18 million, and they have not diluted through this time. So, I mean, I'm hoping that they don't dilute, because obviously that's what we were hoping for with Ethereum, was they weren't going to do it. According to this, they have less than a year left. So, could that be why, some institutions are getting out? They know this is coming, but we do know that the CEO and the CFO have been buying, and I can show you that by go to Vortex real quick, type in DTC, and right here you get insiders. You can actually see there were 6 transactions, and all of them were buys. There's been no sells. So you can see the CFO bought twice there, and the CEO bought there. And I think if we go back to last 12 months, you can see they spend about 800, almost $1 million between the CFO and the CEO, and I guess some general counsel who's probably a lawyer for them. But apparently, all of them have been buying, and nobody's been selling. You compare that against a ticker like Bed Bath & Beyond. If we did that same thing over the last 12 months, there's been only almost $2 million in buys, but like almost $107 million in sells. So they unloaded a good portion, and some of that was Ryan Cohen. There's a bunch of tickers you can do that with, like GameStop. If you take a look, skewed the other way, right? Insiders have been buying. Nobody's really been selling. Like, they're probably selling for tax reasons. So, but low amount of shares flowing out from the insiders. DTC is the same way. Not as much as GameStop, but smaller company. But if you look, like, straight up, like, you can see insiders are buying. Like, it's not like 70%. It's like 100%. Every insider, not every insider, but the two biggest insiders, the CEO and CFO, are both buying this company. So, I mean, that's usually a good sign. Doesn't mean everything when they buy and they sell, but I'm just saying, like, when they're consistently just buying it over and over again, usually means that they're looking to, get shares down at these levels. Like, I think we confirmed that the Asher guy on Ethereum, he started buying that one day, it said. So maybe with a couple of different tickers, there's going to be people that are starting to come around to these small caps again. Besides that, though, basically what I'm seeing is I'm thinking earnings, earnings will be a very important date for them because earnings comes out here. So I could see a possible move up into like the fives prior to, and then, they'll do whatever they do. If they beat, they'll probably run. And if they don't, then they'll probably hang around here and then go back down. Because I'm sure they're going to start getting shorted the higher it gets. So if it starts getting into like the 6 to 8 range, they'll probably start shorting knowing that they don't have a ton of cash left. So, but I'm hoping it runs prior to that because, that's kind of what the last run did. Once again, it can go one of two ways. It's either going to push down, this was a bad earnings, and this was a better earnings. So, but you can notice these guys get like, they got the news early. Somebody got the news early, right? So, that's DTC. Pull up Ethereum. That's not what happened, or it hasn't yet. We basically just flatlined instead. Because we thought this was going to go down to the spring here and then pop. And what ended up happening was it basically just has been consolidating in this range. So if I was to like, oops. I messed it all up. But didn't do that. Just stayed. So, I mean, I would imagine there's probably one more down. It's going to be like here and then start moving up again. Probably will move more aggressively than that. I would think it's probably more like something like this, then something like this, and then it would probably connect here. So, like, you could see this consolidation, maybe a dip right before earnings. If earnings beat, it will run up and then back test the support line and then maybe run. Something like that. So, like 2 something, And at that point, it could take another wave and see what it's going to do. But it's got to fill this gap first. And that could be possibly where a gap fills. So like there, retraces, maybe the move's more like this. Comes back down somewhere around here, or all the way down to the support line and then back up. And probably would test this first. I don't know. I must have been not thinking when I was doing this last time, because some of these things don't make sense. I would rather see it bounce off that resistance and support line. Okay, so something like this, like something down, up. This is going to be the important test. I mean, you can see on this run right here, you went up here and bounced perfectly off that, and then just kind of free fell, tested it, and then back down. So I think we were trying to show Wyckoff, and that's why it was like this, but I could see that happening. So that's that one. I haven't seen anything else file. Ethereum's going to have their earnings coming up also very soon, just in a couple days. So we'll see that. Probably same thing around this. DTC and Ethereum will go and do their thing around the same time. So we'll see. The next thing to see then is, what was the last ticker that you guys wanted to look at? Oh, what's up? How's it going? Andrew's with us. If anyone doesn't know, Andrew is DZ Moneyman. You want to jump on? You guys want to talk about UVIX? Here, I'll put on my headset. Hold on. Okay. We will see if I can figure out how to do this without screwing it up. Let me turn down the volume on my monitor. Let's see. Yeah, I was just kind of messing around, but I'd love to see your charts too. We'll give everyone a second. And for anyone that doesn't or didn't see it, DZ's going to be putting out some his own stuff, and we'll give him a place on the chat, chat inside of Discord, so he can talk to you guys about the stuff he sees. So I think that'd be good for him, and he can make a little bit extra money on the side and go from there. Okay, so because he's doing a lot more like full-on analysis. So let's go over to find Zoom somewhere. Is Zoom. Okay. New meeting. Join with computer. Testing. Okay, participants invite. All right. I'll do that. I think I have to turn this thing off. All right, for anyone in the YouTube channel, just make sure that I'm not giving you guys reverb or anything like that. I gotta find. Okay. Wait, multiple people can share. All right. You guys tell me, can you guys hear and see? HKD. Wasn't that the Chinese pump and dump? The billionaires just pumping out money into IPOs. could probably take a look at it. Are you on with me? Am I not seeing you for some reason? All right. So, Andrew, are you on with me? You're speaking. I cannot hear it. Can you guys hear it in the chat? You're not muted. No, I mean, here's the mute button. Ask to unmute. Hold on. I went to... All right, can you guys hear me? All right, so let me see if I need to change the audio settings. That might be the problem. Okay, how do I get you unmuted? I'm asking you to unmute. Okay. I think it's probably on my end, and let me see if I can figure this out, because I switched up how I put the microphone in. I basically bought a Focusrite, like a preamp, basically, to boost up my microphone, so I didn't have to do it in software. And so if you notice I sound a little bit different, it's because of that. So let me see. How do I get into... Select speaker. Oh, you know what? Let's try this. Into. Oh, I think I hear you. Select speaker. Oh, you know what? Let's try this. Into. Hey, can you turn down your... I think I hear you.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep. I was going to say, if you turn off the YouTube in the background, I'm hearing an echo.
All right.
Can you hear me? Yep. I was going to say, if you turn off the YouTube in the background, I'm hearing an echo.
Yeah, let me do that real quick. All right. Can you still hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Are we good?
Oh, no, I can't hear Anon, but I'm sure he can hear me.
Wait, you can't hear me at all?
So I think we need Anon's voice to go through the Zoom.
Oh, wait, here we go. Wait. Speakers there.
I don't know.
Oh, here we go. Hold on
okay.
a second. How about this now?
Yes, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you too.
Hey,
we figured it out.
Yes.
All right, I gave you the ability to share your screen.
All right, cool. Thanks so much. All right. Glad I guess it's been a couple weeks since I was last on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I've been off too, because the wife was like, listen, like, you spend a lot of time with this stuff. She's like, I'm feeling a little neglected. I'm like, that's fair. I was like, I will spend some time with you and the family. So I spent the last couple of weeks just, also kids were sick, so.
They feeling better?
Yeah, they're feeling better now. I mean, James, my son, he's 2, but he's in preschool, and those kids are always bringing home the plague.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. You never know. Yeah. I'm starting to, get a lot more friends with little kids and toddlers, and
they're always sick.
Yeah. Like they got all kind of new viruses and bugs, and not just the corona.
Yeah, and there's RSV, which is scary for, like, little kids, and all sorts of weird things I've never heard of, but
yeah.
Yeah,
it's strange stuff. So anyhow, where should you're just talking about ATER here, and I just, as you were talking, I put up I wrote up a quick article on the Substack. I have to tell you, I'm really impressed with that app. Like, it's so easy to just like move images and stuff around.
So it's like an easier version of Reddit.
Yeah, much easier.
Because like you write DD also, and like everyone knows it's kind of a pain to kind of it's like find your images, then you embed them, and like So Substack's pretty good.
Yeah, it's been quite good, I will say. yeah, it's just, yeah, I can even do it pretty easily from my phone, and it's much easier to share, I think. And just from I've noticed just from, I think it's mostly like the Atarian folk that follow my stock Twits account, but I feel like, yeah, doing the whole like Substack thing is like it just has a nice professional feel to it. And like for the other people that are on there that follow me, because like I've been going off on like VIX and SPY for the better part of a couple months while ADER's been in this, long consolidation period.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been, I don't know, it's both as much a distraction, but it also just gives me something to watch while we wait for the inevitable here. But yeah, the thing I was writing about today was like, have you had a chance to catch up on any of my recent BDs?
No, so I was going to plan on doing that tomorrow. I was just getting back into the swing of things, catching up on emails, and also kind of just taking a look at the overall, because I hadn't looked at like any of the short analysis or any of the
Mm-hmm.
like I was trying to figure out basically who was in, who was out, because that's always important to know before these
Mm-hmm.
things run, is who's been basically increasing, who's been decreasing. And it looks actually interesting enough like
Mm-hmm.
BlackRock, Vanguard. Oh, I don't know if you can see this, but people on YouTube will be able to see it in a second. But
Yeah, I just shared my screen, yeah, so I can't really.
you're fine. But right now it's following the YouTube, so I'm just all of them are going to get to see this. Basically, BlackRock right here has 4 million shares. It looks like Asher has 2.5, which I believe he may have just increased a little bit. And because that's what at least what he tweeted. And then the Vanguard Group has 2.4 million. But interesting enough, it looks like Susquehanna still has a little bit, or no, maybe they sold their position.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know who doesn't have a ton of shares?
Who's that?
Armistice.
Oh,
Armistice
interesting.
is not one of the major holders right now,
Hmm.
right?
Interesting. Yeah, yeah,
So that means that at this point they are not at the 10% like we initially had thought,
yeah.
which means that they're going to have to get their shares at those, warrant levels.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and they own like a quarter of the shares through warrants.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but it's
Got
interesting
it.
because I was going
Yeah.
to say, because this is where if you kind of put together the TA with like, some of the like, okay, well, how does this work? Like, how are they going to get their shares out and then profit off them? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
those two together will be very interesting to see because, right?
Yeah, if I may, yeah. So one thing I remember this way back at the beginning of the year, like when I took my first like deep dive into one of these, retail favorite stocks, BBIG.
Yep.
So one of their things was, like it had its run to $12, then again to $9, and then it had a thing back in, I know December. December was when some of the I think the Hudson Bay warrants kind of went into effect, like it just popped off one day. But I think yeah, what Hudson ended up doing, I think this was following like this was another group chat that I had long ago, and the guy who's professional, he makes a career out of this. He does it like trading these penny stocks effectively, trying to compound, like 50% or 100% gainers like
Yeah.
a couple of times a year. And then he just, he doesn't work for 9 months out of the year. And then he just comes back when it's, another bull run or whatever. But what he said was, I remember this, he says, like Hudson Bay or any other hedge fund, when they take a position, like they'll enter a warrant agreement, but instead of actually like exercising their warrants right off the bat, what they're basically doing is shorting the effective number of shares, knowing full well that they have that warrant basically to hedge the position. And then when it
Yeah.
gets low enough, then they can cover that. And if they short squeeze it, then they can make money both on, they cover with the warrant
Correct.
or just buy it back. And then when it shoots up again, then their warrants will be worth, basically a call option, which is what a warrant effectively is.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
yeah, it's like
So
what, right? what Ryan Cohen did with BBBY, like when he ran it from $5 to $25, he loaded up on a ton of lead puts and then dumped his entire position in the $20 to $25 range, and
Yep.
screwed over a lot of people that way.
Yeah, because I was gonna say it's interesting because like that was not his MO. Like he normally was a buy and hold guy. If he bought Apple, if you look at his like track
Mhm.
record, he was not a
Yeah.
pump and dump guy. So everyone was kind of like, oh no, like he doesn't do that. And it's like, oh well, this
Mhm.
time he did.
Yeah. I mean, that was, yeah, clear as daylight. But I mean, you saw their, yeah, BBBY's filings. Like, I've never been a fan of that one, and it's just they're way too dangerously close to bankruptcy for my liking. And
The
I hope
management was a
people,
mess, and yeah,
but yeah. So when Ryan Cohen bails, then it's probably everybody else's cue. And he at least gave, I think, like what, 2 days notice, I think, before it went from like 2025 down to low teens again, like in a single day.
yep.
So yeah. So at
Because
least he did that well.
yeah,
But
and I was looking at that huge gap that was that's left, and I'm like, at some point it may run again just to get up there.
mhm.
If they have some sort of news. The only thing I think that would send them that up that way though is if they announce news that they're selling
Mm,
BBBY,
yeah,
which they
gets in the
may
right
do at some
buyer.
point. We could see, but I mean
Yeah.
that's the only thing I could think of that would send it back up into that range. Is
Hmm.
because at that point that would basically bail them out of all their long-term debt,
Yeah.
and then at that point it's kind of like starting over again.
Yep. Basically, and I mean, with a company like BBY, it's never out of the realm of possibility. But yeah. So anyhow, going back to Ethereum though, since this is I've been increasingly excited over the past couple of weeks because I think one of my DDs, I want to say, I put this on my stock twits maybe 2 weeks ago, and I finally wrote up something for the Reddit, I think a week ago or so. But the running thing right now is basically starting with the armistice warrants, like where it bottomed at 210, did its wave, and then it pumped up to, over
Seven.
$7. Yeah. Look how perfect this wedge is. Like, have you ever seen a more beautiful
No, that I
long
mean that
wedge?
lines up exactly.
This is exactly, yeah. So it's like, yeah,
This is
this is
textbook.
yeah, top touch point here. Yeah, there was a run in mid August whenever everybody was hoping for the pivot. Perfect top touch there. Perfect top touch here in early mid September. So right before the FOMC, I think those around the time, or maybe the CPI, I forget. Yeah, so perfect top touch. Yeah, it opened like right on the trend line, closed just below it. Then there's another touch a couple days later, and then right before the
Dilution announcement.
dilution, yep, it touched the top again there.
Because they were announcing basically they were going to beat on revenue, but then they announced the dilution the next day,
Yeah,
which is
yep.
what that top touch is.
Yeah, they completely gamed it. And then today, which I just, yeah, wrote, I'll share this to the Reddit at some point as well too. But
We're touching the upper
so
band.
yeah, it was very close to closing above. So I think today it needed to close above $1.07, and it was like $1.08 to $1.11, and then within the last like 30 minutes, just with a low volume stock like this,
Yep,
someone like one of
107.
the algas only need to dump like 150,000 shares or so, and then you get it back to like 107, and then y'all saw that right after hours too. It's like up and rebounded, but there's a reason they had to get it closed below $1.07, and that was to keep it inside this wedge here. Because the second you get any closing price on either direction of this wedge, it's basically confirming a breakout to
The
the next
outside.
price target. So that's why, like, every day we get close to earnings here, this top wedge here moves down another couple cents or so. So I think what's kind of
I
set
think
up.
you and I both agreed it was probably like 95 cents or 97 cents, something like that.
Yeah, 97 cents, yeah, was the low. I think, yeah, there's an intermediate wedge that's in here too. And I think that puts the bottom, if there's going to be a bottom of this wedge here, I'll draw a second one here because you can connect here's, yeah.
64 roughly.
Yeah, that would be
That'd
like,
be aggressive.
that would be a total like,
Because I was explaining to people that at 50 cents, they would have more cash on hand on their balance sheet than the market cap.
yeah, yeah, that's,
Like literally, they would be like the same. It'd be like 40 something million in cash, and that's what the market cap would be at that price.
Mhm. Yeah. Actually, hold on. I totally brain farted here. Yeah, this should actually be up a little bit here. So
Higher,
this is,
yeah.
yeah, I thought it was like 79, 80 cents here. Yeah. Yeah, when I make these like hourly charts, I have to move these lines around in order to get it here. So yeah, 79 I think is
Probably the
the
low.
absolute bottom here. But honestly, like normally these wedges tap the bottom like and usually take like 1 or 2 days like prior to reaching the termination of the wedge. So I think if earnings is going to be on what election day, so probably by Thursday, Friday, we probably see our first close above this wedge somewhere here, and then earnings will be a catalyst that just gaps it in one direction or the other. But
And that would make sense if you think about it, with it going up to probably a level where Armistice can unlock some of their warrants, make some money on them.
yeah, exactly. And it looks like here too.
Because the last time they did it on no news. And
Yeah,
I'm sure they
so,
could blame it on retail and say that, like I did it or something like that. But like,
yeah.
they ran it on no news. Like it just was like a random day. I explained
Mm-hmm.
how like why BBBY was never gonna like squeeze the same way that Ethereum could, because the lower float, and also just the amount of like warrants that were floating out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's the thing. Like I do think BBBY, or is it, sorry, BBB, was it BBIG, right?
Yeah,
That was what
BBIG.
that was the one I was thinking of. Just because at the time they had so many warrants, like they had
Mm-hmm.
so many warrants. They went from like a float of what was the float back then on that stock?
It was in the 150 to 200,000 range, I think. Like it was definitely like considerably. It was
it was 14 million. So it had, like, at the time it was like 14
before,
million
yeah.
shares. Then it
Mm-hmm.
ran up to like 107 million.
107 million. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, but then
100,000 way small.
like
Yeah.
within like 3 months, they went from 107 up to 150, then up to 233 million, and they still
Mm-hmm.
had an additional, I believe, it got them up to like 106, or sorry, 260 million. Yeah, here it
Mm-hmm.
is. I just pulled it up. Here we go. Yeah, so like this was pretty squeezed. They diluted some there, and then this was around the squeeze, right? Between these two, they issued out a ton of. This was after GME, right? This is March. This stuff started running, I believe, in the summer, like August.
Yeah, it was August. Yeah,
Yeah,
August,
so I
September.
mean, it went from 30 million shares to 107, and then within like a couple months, it was already up to like 233 million.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, they're yeah. When you grow a float by that much, it's going to make it extremely hard for the stock to get back to the pre-squeeze prices.
oh yeah. I mean, because you think about it, like if you have that many shares, all of a sudden your market cap, if you go back up to even like 12, when you have 260 million shares, that's what is that? 260 times, it's like a $3.1 billion market cap.
Yeah,
Like if
it's
they take over
absolutely
for
crazy.
TikTok and TikTok gets banned, then maybe. But like
Yeah.
that's the only way. But I'm sure lobbyists are sitting there from TikTok and lining people's pockets to make sure they don't get shut down.
Mhm. Yeah.
When you have that kind of,
Yeah, I'm sure TikTok, yeah, with the billions of users that they have, yeah, they'll find a way, I'm sure. But if it does get banned for whatever reason, then yeah, BBIG will have its heyday. But it's got to grow like the social media app that it has like right now and actually make it viable.
because
You know,
right now
because
it's not.
otherwise you already have Snapchat and Meta for all the flaws that it has. You know, like as very viable alternatives that are otherwise household names. Like everybody knows about those.
Yep, breaking
So
in that space is hard. So
yeah, but hey, Lamotive, like it looks it looks decent, and like the reason I bought it, I'm like, well, it's a good story here. It's a startup, and everybody has to start somewhere, and but I don't know until they settle down with that management team, especially like once Ted Farnsworth's like completely out, like that's probably the most bullish thing that can happen for that stock is
yeah,
that
you've heard me talk about it.
yeah.
I'm like, wait, the guy, you guys are investing in the same company that this guy basically ran it into the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. As I say, yeah, the company itself, it's a solid idea, but then again, Ted's had a lot of solid ideas that he's just more or less, squeezed
Poorly
money out for.
executed. Yeah.
Yeah, take to the meat grinder.
I swear to God, if you look at his like overall, like it's almost like he gets put in somewhere and the thing just goes down. Like he's getting paid basically to run it into the ground.
Yeah, or I think, yeah, with all the litigation too, like between, from what I followed, between like him, Lisa King, and the whatever the other like the Farnsworth media or whatever, like they were basically using like Vinco as a shell company. Like you're going to do all the payments, but Ted's other company would be the one that actually like makes the benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and I think someone's like, hold up a second, like you're screwing over the shareholders, and to their credit, they're like, we need someone needs to stop this because it's robbing us blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so such is life. But anyhow, yeah, going back to ATER though, so I think yeah, I think each day, like I think one thing I'm personally going to be a little bit cautious of, like, because FOMC is tomorrow. So I think that's kind of the most important like backdrop that we have going on here. And also a reason why I want to talk about UVIX a little bit here. I know that was in the chat. I can't see the chat right now, obviously, um, but like everybody, and I mean everybody, like I'm looking everywhere, like, you got your Uber bears like Mike Wilson, Mike Hartnett, they're saying, oh, bear rally's going to happen. It's going to go between 4,000, 4,015. CTAs are in full buy mode. If it goes above 30, if the SPX goes above 3,950, that's going to trigger another short squeeze. And just sentiment everywhere is like they expect a huge, ginormous rally because, ever since that Wall Street Journal article came out like 2 weeks ago, basically kept the market from bottoming out. Yeah, it's just been like everybody's like front run this pivot or this pivot talk.
Yeah.
And I think it was interesting to me to see that like after the last FOMC, like we were trading between like SPY was between 382 and 386, dumped down to like 380, then it spiked to 390, and then it dumped back down to 380 again or whatever.
You want to pull it up on the chart?
Yeah. Let's talk about that because I think this is what's going to drive like everything here. So let's see here. Where was the last yeah, so it looks like, yeah, as you can see, it's been a little bit of time since I last looked at this chart. If any, let me just declutter a little bit here. But like one thing that's been standing out to me is like there's a expanding megaphone like forming on this chart, for some time here. So this, clearly, looked like it reached a top.
See,
then if we take the, so when was the last FOMC? Remind me again.
I have to look it up. It was a couple weeks ago. It was like a month and some change, right?
Yeah, it's like near the end of September, I think, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe.
FOMC history. Let's see. We should have a chart of that somewhere. Let's see. September 22nd.
Okay, yep. Here it is. Okay, yep. Tuesday, Wednesday. So that announcement was on a Thursday then.
Yep. They announced the 75-point raise, making it 3 to 3.25 at their level.
Okay, so actually, well, that Wednesday, yeah, so here it is. Yeah, it went from, yeah, it had a big range. Yeah, so it had to be the 21st, actually.
Yep, it said it says the 22nd, but that's when I guess it went into effect. Maybe it was the 22nd.
Yeah, because it started up. Yeah, it gapped up. I remember earlier in the day, and then it just spiked down, and then it had a massive like spike up to 390. So, but yeah, anyhow, let me Yeah, this is kind of what I want to show here. So yeah, we'll highlight those 2 days. So that's Wednesday, Thursday, day of and day after. And this is where
today and tomorrow.
Yeah, today and tomorrow. Let me just move that over because I've had these dates. So so we are currently trading above the most recent 75 basis point hike. We've had a hot FO or a hot CPI. We've had a hot jobs report. Today's JOLTS report was extremely hot.
Yep. Which means that they have more. This is where bad news is good, or sorry, good news is bad news.
Yes, exactly, and vice versa. So the fact that you factored all that in, like Amazon and Meta especially had incredibly shitty earnings, but even like worse guidance. Like Amazon, even like after dumping as much as it is, like it's actually got a worse profit to earnings than Tesla does, which was kind of a surprise to me.
Yeah.
And like after reading through I didn't get the chance to read everything in Amazon's report, but like Amazon would have lost a stupid amount, like billions upon billions of dollars, if it were not for AWS.
Yeah, AWS is what's always kept it afloat.
Yeah, but even then though, it's made me think. It's like people are still willing to pay this much for basically, like, if this part of the business goes under at all, like where's Amazon going to get their money? And like, why do people justify paying this much money for that specific stock? And you can make the same argument for Tesla, obviously, too. Like, good companies, I think, Amazon makes a lot of stuff available for really cheap and all that, but Tesla has good cars, obviously, but like some of these like lofty valuations, like I think are finally starting to come to reality. But yeah, I don't know. But the fact that all of those,
I wasn't planning on buying any Amazon until it's under 90. In my case, like I was like, that's a more like realistic. I think that's where it's like, okay, value wise, you can start getting some value once it's under 90.
Yeah. Yeah, I think anything under 90. Although, from a PE perspective, I would like it much better in like the 60 to 70 range. And
oh yeah, I mean,
and that's probably likely. I think by maybe Q1 next year. I think once you get another round of these earnings reports that have to account for all these hot inflation reports,
where they go, oh wait. Yeah, the problem with these big multinational companies is when inflation's running out of control, and if the dollar strengthens, which we probably need to like take a look at DXY. If the dollar strengthens, then it's going to really affect those earnings because I don't know if you guys know. Obviously but anyone listening, basically, if you think about it this way, if your value of your currency goes down and you report all earnings in dollars, that actually hurts earnings for a lot of these multinationals. So if you guys ever want to know why it is when the dollar strengthens, most people are like, oh, well, if an American company should be good. But if it's a multinational corporation where it does a lot of business outside of the United States, that's typically very bad for the earnings.
Yeah, because it takes more of a foreign currency to get the same number of dollars worth of U.S. goods.
Exactly.
So they're basically cash strapped to buy our goods in U.S. dollars. So therefore, there's just less purchasing power overseas.
Correct.
So that's the general gist of it. Yeah, and yes, I think the dollar is down slightly, ever so slightly. Like we're talking maybe like a half a point, because it was in that 112 to 114 range, I think, for most of September into early to mid October, roughly speaking. But those yields, though, like 10-year yields are still like above 4%, which is like almost 0.6 to 0.7 0.6 to 0.7 percentage points above like June, which peaked at like, I want to say 3.2 to 3.3%. And the fact that, stocks are just, well, I shouldn't say stocks. There's a lot of stocks that are beaten down, but just the indices, like how they're able to basically defy gravity here, because that's such an enormous headwind here. And once tomorrow, like assuming there's no surprises, like I think the Wall Street Journal Fed Whisperer guy, he said that 75 is a lock. 75 puts Fed funds at 3.75 to 4%.
Correct.
which means 10-year yields, like that's the floor for those yields for, at least a year to a year and a half. So, and the fact that the SPX has rallied this much and it's already at the top of the range, like like the last thing Jerome Powell wants to do, I think, is
See a
say
breakout.
going to, like, oh, 50 basis points coming up. Like the second he says that,
The market will go up to 410.
it'll be up to 410. Like they're going to be so excited. Like, yeah, dovish pivot. They're going to be easier for longer and all that.
And that's where all the rest of them are going to be selling. And then
yeah,
we will be the ones buying it, and then they dump it down to 3 something.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Like honestly, like if I mean, you can never say never in this market, obviously, but if it goes back to let me turn my moving average back on here. If this goes back to
because we're trading above the moving average, aren't we? Was that the 50?
Yeah, that was 50. Let me change it to 200. Yeah, 200's up here. Yeah, right around 410. If it goes
right?
to 410,
yeah, 410,
like
409.
that will be, in my opinion, the opportunity of a lifetime to load up some, some SPY puts here. Get them for like 400, 400. Buy them for January, February, whatever. Because if it goes that high, that means VIX is going to be really low, which means the IV pricing on longer term options is going to be really, really favorable. So then like even if it chops around for a little bit, like you'll have a lot of theta, for a February option, like, so, and then as IV goes up, that'll neutralize any loss just from, if it doesn't move at all for, 10, 15 days or whatever. But, it goes down to, if for the 410 put goes down to, to the other end of this megaphone here, which, each day it gets a little bit lower, 331, 330, that's $8,000 roughly speaking, like per put, because at a certain point those become ultra high delta and you still retain a ton of the premium. And then you can even make a little bit more if the IV spikes, which at this point, SPX at 3,300 is probably a VIX of about 45 to 50 at minimum. And that's assuming nothing crazy happens overseas, like with news or whatever. So
war, yeah.
Or like, I saw today, like apparently Iran wants to send missiles over to the Saudis, which, that's going to create a new Middle Eastern war. Wall Street Journal.
Just what we need, right?
Yeah. So spiking oil prices, another geopolitical conflict, and
maybe my HUSA will go back up.
yeah. Yeah. Hey, one of my buddies.
I'm holding some bags on HUSA.
Yeah.
I was like, low float, like this thing will pop at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of got, they have like something like a 7 million share float. I'm like, if retail just buys this, this thing will just move eventually.
Yeah.
With that many shares, if you actually like DRS them, like 7 million shares and stocks at what, like $4 or $5?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Crazy.
At some point, someone's going to figure it out.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, I think oil stocks, I think, are certainly due for, they'll get another
rebound.
one. I think,
yeah.
Like oil will definitely go down, like once the recession is like firmly baked into the economy. And I think even though we're kind of technically in one right now, we still have a lot of this hot data, like, a lot of job openings, inflation's still really hot, and like that'll be a good catalyst, I think, for oil prices, at least in the short to medium term. But longer term, like once a global recession actually that's like in demand, like legitimately falls, then that's when it's probably time to dump oil.
All right, so what do you think? It bounces off like 390 something and then just tumbles down?
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just from a sentiment perspective. Let me go to.
And I can confirm. I know a bunch of people that are like, "Hey, man, so I think the bottom was in. Like, this seems like a good time to buy." And I'm like,
no, hell no.
This feels like a trap to me. But
this is a humongous trap. Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up here for everybody to see because
I'm wrong pretty often. So
yeah, yeah.
What do I know? Especially when things go out of control up. I'm like, shouldn't be that way, but
Yeah.
You
We're
pulling
on
up the yeah, people are
the
getting
fear and
greedy
greed.
again.
Yeah, it's
It's
like a
tough.
month ago we were in this extreme fear here.
Fear.
So like everybody is expecting, yeah, I mean we're not extreme obviously here, but like yeah, the second, the Fed says, yeah, we're gonna back this off or we're gonna do this or we're gonna do that or whatever, then
Yeah, that thing flies up.
yeah, like the market's just waiting for an excuse to
Have
yeah
one
blow
last
up here.
rally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
think yeah, just given we're at the top here, I think yeah, it's I don't know, it probably jerks down because 75 basis points, once you add that up, that's going to send yields through the roof. So I think probably, honestly, I think probably anyone that's actually day trading this tomorrow, like because the VIX is so cheap, it's just, like noon or like noon Eastern time or whatever, just take a straddle, like, call that's like $2 above and a put that's $2 below, whatever the knee jerk reaction is, like just cash that leg out and then wait for J Powell to start speaking, which will cause
the
it's in
downward.
the exact opposite direction by like a solid $5, $6, $7, and then VIX will obviously move with that too, so that'll reprice it up, and then whatever the top is, just take the inverse and then ride that basically to Valhalla. So that's going to be my plan anyways. But like with such cheap VIX, it's like the risk reward I don't think has been this good all year for an FOMC event because it's unusual I think even to see. Yeah, let's pull up the VIX chart here. Like to see this VIX ahead of an FOMC, like that's crazy. Like everyone's like, oh, Jay Powell's going to be Santa Claus. Santa rally comes early. Everybody sell your hedges. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 straight days of VIX crush. We got elections coming up.
Yeah.
North Korea's, testing more ICBMs. The State Department says, yeah, Iran wants to send missiles into.
Yeah, I learned long ago that you have to take anything rational out of like the stock market because I remember sitting there being really bearish right before the elections, the
Mm-hmm.
presidential elections. And I remember sitting there going, there's no way this thing goes up. And as
Mm-hmm.
soon as I said that, it
Mm-hmm.
gapped up, I think, 7 straight days in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
The
you gotta
VIX
be,
did, or the.
no, it's SPY.
Oh wow.
I had SPY puts, and it literally gapped up 7 days in a row. Like every single day opened higher than the day they closed. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
and it left some pretty big like gaps there, which I think we hit one of them like perfectly, and then it bounced off it. So like, and that's where like, and it was literally there for like 10 minutes, and then it like skyrocketed. It was that day where it dumped down pre-market, and then it just ran the entire day.
Mm-hmm.
That's you have the VIX up, but it's probably that
Yeah.
big candle day right there where it just got crushed.
Yeah. This was yeah, CPI day.
Yep. And I was gonna
Um.
say that's exactly where on the SPY it did. All right, we got less than a minute. Do you want to do one more, and then we'll
Yeah.
just
Well. Yeah. We'll go one more. Yeah, and then it'll be bedtime for me.
yep,
So
same for me.
yeah, I got a few more we have to go through. So all right, just send me a new link.
Yep. All right. I think we're good there. Everyone can hear me still. Let's see. Oh, there he is.
All right.
All right. Give you control of the screen.
Yep. Let's get back after it here. Okay. All right. Continuing the VIX discussion here. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess when it comes to VIX or any of this, I mean, obviously everything is never say never. Just like, unless this is like the setup of the century where like the market makers have been like baiting everyone into selling them their long puts so that, they can crush the VIX, get it all cheaper, knowing full well that Powell's going to be, you know, ultra hawk and say, y'all read the same CPI reports we did. We leaked as much information as we could, and the latest from Nick Timmeros, I think, was, they want to tell the markets like, yeah, this is probably the last 75 basis point hike, but we might be doing a lot of 50 basis point hikes, and might have to put the Fed funds up to 5.5 or 6% because y'all keep front running this, and
that's what the algos do.
Yep, that's what they do. Yeah,
they model it out and then they turn their algos on, and this is what we think is going to happen. And if there's a surprise, we'll trade it like that. But in the meantime, I mean, did you ever listen to Brad? I think it's Kiyosaki or something like that. He's the IEX guy. He wrote the book Flash Boys.
Not familiar, no.
Okay. Good read. Also good hearing him speak. Really intelligent guy. Kawasakima. He was Canadian, and he started IEX. So he was
That's one of the exchanges, correct?
Correct. It's one of the exchanges, and it's the one that's probably the most fair because they do a middle out. So everyone else has been relying heavily on high frequency trading, which basically speed is everything, because they were front running orders. So basically, these market makers were front running orders, like Citadel, like all the market makers were basically front running orders. So he was trying to figure out why, when he was a buyer, he would put in an order of 500,000 shares, and he would only get like 10,000 of them before the price moved. He's like, they were available for a second, and now they're not. And so it's how he created IEX. Was he was basically sick and tired of watching these like hedge funds going like front running, market makers like front running everything, and so they weren't ever able to get like their full orders filled. And so he was like, okay, if they're going to go fast, we're going to go super slow. And we're going to basically slow down all of our orders and basically put it in the middle, so that way they can come to us if they want those orders to fill. So it was a different like thought process. It's like, all right, everybody else is going fast, we're going to go slow.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they basically put the orders basically between the bid and ask and do what's called middle out. And so that's how they are, a fair exchange. But they want, if you put your order in through them, you're supposed to actually get it filled on a lit exchange versus most modern, brokers basically are using these, payment for order flow and also, internalizing orders. So really fascinating if you ever get a chance, because it kind of explains to you the reason why retail orders never actually hit. And why, when we were sitting there going, oh, well, Tyrion's running and we're squeezing it, like it wasn't happening. Like it was all controlled by algos, because none of our orders, we messed up the brokers' FTDs. That's what we did. And those don't matter when the price drops. They know that they can get retail to sell.
Yeah.
Like that's the truth. Like the stock price goes down and down and down and down and down. Retail will bail.
Yep. And then they collect on the other end, and then they'll pump it themselves.
Yep. Exactly.
Exactly what they've been doing with Ethereum, it seems, since the dilution.
Yep. The initial one. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, high volume selling, some of it from the company, other of it just, some retail like sick and tired of being like, oh, I'm sick of bag holding, so that obviously pumps the volume too. But even I know we moved on from that chart already, but most of the action the last like really like week and a half has been like inflows, like net inflows into Ethereum. So somebody's definitely like buying on the other end.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine they're probably slowly buying and just averaging down.
Yeah. Speaking of averaging down and low volume, so UVIX.
Yep. So bearish divergence on the volume.
Yeah. Well, you could argue that's ultimately bullish for
for eventually to pop and go up.
Yeah, because it's Yeah, what I found interesting, so like I was into UVIC or UVXY for a while, and then this ticker came along, I think back in April or so. So at one point, I think, yeah, in May, yeah, UVIX was up to 20, almost $28,
Do you know what
26.
it tracks, the underlying?
I think it's the same as UVXY, which is like
Okay.
M1 and M2 futures, but it's just 2 times leverage. So
Okay.
obviously
Instead
it'll
of the
have,
2.5. Yeah.
yeah, so it's, at that point, the highest I think it was trading back in May was, I think, 17 or $18. So like there's a $6 price divergence here. And then by the time you get to mid-August, UVXY and UVIX are trading within $1 of each other. And UVIX right now is actually worth less than UVXY because of how the leveraging mechanics have worked.
Yeah.
So when it got back to, looks like it
And
got up
then
to,
they do reverse split, and then it goes back up to a normal level, and then they just do it again.
yeah, they beat it down again. But I think even though like it does track the VIX futures, one of the things I have to remind myself sometimes too is that like it's still a tradable security here. So
There's
people are dumping VIX
manipulation.
and
Yeah.
there's low volume here. So that means it's just been a low volume sell off here. And then, starting from, yeah, early to mid August here, like volume was ramping up actually considerably into, kind of the Jackson hole and then there. And then it just, not moving. And then, oh, now it finally pops. So, yeah, did one of these, one, two, kind of double topped a little bit. And then everybody's just getting rid of it because everybody's ready for the next bull market, basically. So, but what's interesting here too is that I noted how SPY is at kind of the top of that expanding megaphone, and 390 is also very significant support for other reasons too.
Yep.
Look where it corresponds here. So there's a
Perfectly.
accumulation
Yep.
here. Yep, it's right here. So like this is mean order here. So algos are definitely like buying like way down here. So even though it's, what is it, 940 right now, so that means probably tomorrow it opens up at like 925, 926,
Yep. Buy
and
it
then
up there,
probably
and then
sharp bounce. Yeah, because like, and I think I talk about this with a couple people in the Discord chats, like the main trading room specifically. The thing that makes these particular tickers so attractive, especially in the market condition as is that like once you get enough of these, just like you get, big spike, sell off, and then just one morning you're going to wake up, VIX is going to be like at 50 or 60 because something happened, something broke. And that's where you make your money on these tickers here. Like you have to deal with a lot of bullshit,
well,
with
yeah, I was gonna say those it runs once every blue moon,
yeah,
and you if you don't
and
time it right, you're just gonna bleed money.
yeah, and like as long as this doesn't reverse split, like the UVXY 2008, 2016, 2018, and then in COVID, I think from its absolute bottom of the cycle up until its maximum, I think the lowest it ever ran was 713%. During COVID, it was 900% that it moved up. So like even if it bottoms here at, like it's all time low right now looking here. So like that's, we'll say $9 is a nice even round number. 700% of $9, that's a $63. Like that's basically buying AMC at $10 and selling at $70.
Yeah.
Because like you get so many of these algos, like as far as I know, like one of the oldest, every traditional like algo strategy is like, oh, when VIX gets above 30, just short the hell out of it because
They don't
it's
like it
easy
up there.
money.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's just like sell UVIX, sell VIX futures, just sell it off because it makes money and then you cover it. But then something
That
triggers it.
one time.
Yeah,
That
like it's as much
one
of a
time.
short. And like if you look at the current market situation right now, so like sentiment is like through like
It's getting
greed on
bullish
the,
again. Yeah.
it's very bullish again. Yeah, Spot GAM, I think in their analysis, their most recent one that I read, they said, they commented on that too, that there's been so much volatility selling and going into this, like there's been a lot of put selling and call buying. So that means the option dealers are going to be they're going to have a lot of this long exposure. But if these short puts end up going in the money, then guess what? The clients have to start selling in order to be delta neutral in that case. So if something causes SPX to go, I think, especially below 3,600. Like there's going to be a lot of in the money short puts that suddenly need hedged. And the way you hedge a short put is to sell more so that, you know, you can receive it on the opposite end. So it's just going to be exacerbated selling to the downside. And yeah, which brings us back to Jerome Powell tomorrow. So I think that's kind of his dilemma here. It's basically he has two choices here. He says to the market, you know, y'all keep front running inflation. I'm going to put my hammer down, but I know that if I do that, all y'all are short puts and you're going to crash the market because y'all are irresponsibly hedged.
Of course
So
they are.
So do we get hyperinflation or do we get a flash crash? And to be quite honest, I think if that scenario happens, like that would resemble some sort of capitulation event. And I think I was looking at 2002 and 2008 as good examples of this. Like VIX, like it does get really high, but it never, like the VIX high, like for those particular bear markets, never actually like marked like the bottom. It was kind of the precursor like to the bottom, like, you know, the next
it's tracking M1 and M2 futures. So
yeah. Well, I'm speaking, yeah, VIX just more broadly speaking here.
sure.
Yeah. So like VIX would be let's look at monthly VIX here. Yeah. Yeah, so you know,
so
we see
COVID.
you get your 85 spike here. Yeah, so like the low was obviously in March, you know, of that year. February, you know, this is, I think that's the Volmageddon event. Yeah, there's something weird happening in 2008 there, but yeah, and
that was the financial crisis.
yeah, so like yeah, so this was the peak of the financial crisis here, but the bottom in the market wasn't in until I think mid to late 2009, and at that point VIX had already like come down to like 30, 35 into the 20s again. So yeah, that's just kind of a thing to watch there. But yeah, these spikes, like they just go whoop and then whoop and then whoop. So like even during the COVID time, like, you know, VIX was down to like 12, 13.
Yep, and it ran to like 80 something.
Yeah, now what are we doing here now?
We're shutting down the entire world's economy.
Basically, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of noticed here. You know, I kind of, yeah, that's quite a arc there. Like it's definitely on a trajectory to the upside here. So VIX will get up there
You
for
think
sure.
a cup and handle or no?
This is not one you want to see a cup and handle on.
I know.
That's actually like that's scary. Yeah, you can kind of sort of make one here, maybe. No, yeah, there's just a lot of cup formations here. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that one's a little tacky. This one's kind of tacky here too, but
unless you extended that one all the way out. It doesn't fit perfectly, but I'm just saying, like, not that
yeah.
one. Like that, yeah, that just make it long, like a big long, like it because you know it went up, down, and then
yeah, I see
like
what
on a
you're
larger
talking.
scale.
Yeah,
Like a
yeah, you
huge,
could actually connect these.
Not exactly. Okay.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, let me help smooth this down here a little bit. Yeah,
But yeah, obviously bring up the bottom, but
yeah,
could it be because it did spike there, right? Like,
yeah, there's definitely a spike here. Yeah, so I feel like this is a chart that Northman Trader would make. You know, monthly like inverse head and shoulders forming on the monthly VIX.
ugh,
But yeah, you could
that
kind of
would not
argue
be
that
good.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely one here heading into the .com bubble here. Yeah, these are just more or less like elongated cups that aren't necessarily cup and handles here, but
Yeah.
Anyhow,
something to notice.
It's something that keeps the bulls awake at night. The spy bulls, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, a bunch of people are getting really bullish, and
Yeah, but
I mean, I've got
yeah.
friends who are like literally buying right now, and I'm like, mm. they're like,
Mm,
they're like, we think there's going to be a Santa Claus rally, and I'm like, okay.
yeah,
I mean, it's possible. It is
yeah,
absolutely possible, but I think
yeah.
we may have some sort of because I think what I noticed was everybody was like, oh well, why aren't these things causing margin calls when it's going down, the SPY's going down to
Hmm.
three, what was it, 340 something.
Hmm.
And I'm like, who was the one short, right? It's the hedge
Yeah,
funds. They were making money off it. Like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, you guys need to pay attention. Like, you just assumed everyone's long, like you are. Like, these hedge funds were literally the ones shorting the market.
Hmm.
Because I think when I pulled it up,
Yeah, let me go to my.
like right here, these guys are net short. If you look at the put values, I don't know if you're able to see.
I can't see it, but I'll take your word for it.
I,
While you do that,
I
yeah,
could
I'm looking for.
I could share my screen. Hold on, screen share.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a
Uh,
tweet that's worth sharing. I think here.
where's the BAM? Is that it?
Yeah, yeah. I'll just stop sharing mine. Okay.
Can you see that?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. I was just pointing this out though. Look who's got the largest short positions. Citadel.
Yep. Citadel, Barclays,
Yep. Wolverine.
Charles, Wintry, Barclays, Citadel again.
So you know, you start looking. It's like, oh, some of these, Jane Street's here. So a lot of these hedge funds are the ones that are actually net short. So when people were like, "Oh, well, I don't understand why these things aren't causing margin calls," I'm like, because they're not going to. Like,
Mhm.
they're the ones making money off it. All right, you can go ahead and
Yeah.
share if you want.
Yeah. I'll get back here in just a second here. Let me. Yeah. So. Okay. I will share here again. Okay. So you may know of BAM Investor from Twitter.
Yep. Yep.
I follow him just because like he was like part of the original like AMC like movement and
Mm-hmm.
absolutely nailed like the $12 to $72 move because he runs his own algorithm
So
basically.
he
And
was talking about Meta, right?
yeah,
Like
so
Meta
his
material, though.
no, we're talking about as in
The actual
Facebook.
Meta. Okay.
Yeah, so he said if Meta can post one more low intraday and then stabilize and rally normal human behavior, the stock can repair and move above the critical 105 level. But if not, the stock can see a mechanical margin call related crash of epic proportions late 11.2 to early 11.3. And I think part of the reason, like his thesis, like for those that have followed him for more than a year, a lot of these hedge funds, like they are ultra long on like big tech stocks. So like your Netflix, your Meta,
Yep.
Amazon, Google. So, and I feel like he's on to something here because even though like it's been remarkable in my opinion that like SPY's been able to hold between 3,000, yeah, 3,850 to 3,900 or so while these big tech stocks are going down. And this is the other one that I kind of noticed here too. So like the fact that Meta's gone from like they're loading up on Meta at like $300 a share, and now it's below 100. Now suddenly they're definitely in margin call territory here, and I think some of the squeezing that we're seeing here is like the result of like because they're so short other stocks like individual names like maybe your AMC's, GMEs, but probably everything else at this point. why they're outperforming so much is that they're being like forced to liquidate to cover their losses on the big tech positions.
Mm.
So, see, I thought, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like if we do get a capitulation event of some sort, like, and if this ends up being like the main hypothesis, I guess, behind that
It's not a
thesis, of
bad, like, honestly, it's not a horrible one. Like,
yeah,
it does make sense because there were a ton of hedge funds that literally like just threw money at big tech because you couldn't lose like during that bull market. But
mm-hmm.
now they're sitting there and that's what they're, they're using basically is they're like, oh well, this will go back up eventually, right? And you're like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because I did hear a report on Bloomberg that was basically saying that there was a bunch of funds that were like having like emergency, like, we need more funding, like, you know
mm-hmm.
records amount of like, just they were, negative performance wise, and you're like, what did you guys buy to like
Mm-hmm.
take a huge drop like that? Like, they had to be short something, and they had to have had some investments go sideways.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
So it seems all too coincidental that it just so happens to be, big tech, and that they're basically shorting everything else. Like, oh, retail investors are stupid. Buy big tech, you can't lose. Like you're just saying.
yeah, I mean, I've got friends buying it right now, and I think more would be at this point the smart thing to do. You know, it, wait till it goes down more. It's going to
Yeah.
drop. Like, there is not great news coming out in the next week. I don't know. Like, I mean, that's just my opinion, but
Mm-hmm.
I see more downside than upside at this point.
Yeah.
Like, we even in your inverted yield curve, this is what causes crashes.
Yeah.
Every time the yield curve inverts, there is a crash,
Mm-hmm.
and we haven't
Yeah.
crashed yet, so therefore it's coming. Like, I've never seen
Yeah.
the yield curve invert. I mean, it did one time, and then we didn't crash, but like, it only was there for like a day. It like literally was there for like one day where it like inverted and then it went out. But like, that seems to matter.
Yep. Certainly does.
So what do you have up there? Let's see.
This is the S&P weekly chart here.
Okay.
So it's basically redrawing basically this larger expanding megaphone here. But what I find interesting though is that on this Wyckoff sniper tool here, these weekly accumulation bands, like it does bounce quite hard off of these here. It did during a CPI week.
Yep.
Now
So the
you
next
got
one will be 360s.
yeah, so yeah, there's certainly another test at 360 coming up. So like that's almost a guaranteed bounce again. At that point, that would make it a 1-2, like a triple bottom bounce or so. But I think yeah, this line I just put here, that's like the top of like the pre-COVID highs, which is what is that? That's about 338. It's about 3,400 SPX. And then, but this bottom accumulation band, which is also kind of scary where it's at here, it's at 302 right now. So, and that would be right at the bottom of this megaphone. So it would do the market a lot of good to just kind of get this over with, because each week that goes by, this
Gets further
megaphone goes
down.
down. Yeah, it's going down like $2 to $3 a week or so. And, if you delay that by 30 weeks, then suddenly you're talking about some sort of event coming in like early
Yeah,
Q1.
260, or yeah. Is that 260s? Ooh.
I don't know anybody calling for 260, but like, never say never in this market, right? Like, yeah, if you go back, back test this, yeah, in COVID, yeah, there was, yeah, gap down weekly candle here. Yeah, that dropped way below the bottom accumulation here. And yeah, it just like straight up shot through there.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that's something to note in the future is the next time they cut these rates down to zero and they turn on the money printer, just
Hmm.
go full on bull. Like just
Yeah.
because
Exactly.
the areas of growth get like super extreme and the areas of contraction are also just as extreme. So it's like
Hmm.
basically when the Fed's printing money, just buy everything. And when the
Hmm.
Fed's tightening, just sell everything.
Hmm.
That seems to be like a very like low key common sense thing.
Yeah.
Like
I just wonder. Yeah, I do wonder though. At what point does obviously like a lot of this trading's like run by the HFTs, right? So at what point do they say, oh yeah, we're not gonna pump the markets anymore on free QE, basically? Because everybody knows at this point that that's kind of the going strategy.
yeah,
You know, like
make
for
money
that.
doing the opposite.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Um yeah, it's getting late here. I'm just looking at some coming up on the 120. So,
Yeah. I wanted to point out one more thing
yeah,
here,
go
but
ahead. Go ahead.
this weekly chart here. So,
Oh, head and shoulders.
uh, yep, yeah. So, yeah, it looks like there've been a lot of these like small like weekly cycles like embedded with it, like
I can see it. Yeah.
gradually increasing. So, like, yeah, left shoulder, head, and then right shoulder, and then dump. That was your June low. Which became left shoulder, and then mega head here, right shoulder here. So it looks like maybe our next low will come off of this here.
320s.
And then, yeah, maybe we do.
It looks like it'll bounce off that accumulation, right? So that'd
Yeah,
be like
so
330s.
yeah, and then maybe it bounces back up to here. You get another intermediate head intersects here, and
Yeah.
then perhaps retest 330 or something, and then you get intermediate bounce, and then
The
probably low for the
breakthrough.
year, probably below for this bear cycle here. So actually, I'm going to quick add one more thing, and then we will. Let's see. Where's the regression? Yeah, one thing I've started using a little bit. I did this in one of my most recent ATER plots was there's these regression channels. Let me look. I'm having a brain fart here. Oh, here we are. Okay. So if we go, something like that. So it's respects this midline here extremely well.
Well, that's interesting. So that
Yeah.
would put it then right about 360s.
Yeah. So yeah, the middle of this here, yeah, mid 360s. So that's almost exact. So yeah, I think I don't know if this is intended to be like a smaller head, then yeah, there's going to be a new low that is probably going to be made soon, kind of in similar way that the June low was made, and then another like massive
Recent
rally. And
yeah.
honestly, like that would actually make a Santa rally more bullish if there was some sort of just flash capitulation here where drops to like 330, 430, wiggles around a little bit, and then the next week, like going like say into the midterms, then there's a massive rally like into November, December. If this is the weekly chart here. No, yeah, that maybe we get a just me personally here, but I see a good argument here for a new yearly low coming by next week, and then regardless of what happens in the midterms, then you start to like legitimately see a rally, like get enough to like shake out all these pools that are like, oh, it's coming tomorrow, get greed to,
Yeah,
you
so
know.
they dump out here, the thing tanks, people, make their money on their puts and then they go ride it back up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
They
I
get
could see
bearish
that.
again. Yeah. All right. We got 10 minutes left. Did we want to look at anything else here or
A couple people wanted to see HKD, and
yeah, let's see here.
I mean, I don't have a ton of like fundamental information on these guys because they were pretty new. Um,
Yeah, I don't either, other than
I mean,
well,
it's
just in general, Chinese stocks have been taken to the cleaners
yeah. I
like
mean, it's
lately.
all literally. It was just these guys getting their money out of China. These billionaires, they basically use
Mhm.
these companies as a shell. Apparently, the SEC is finally looking into them
Mhm.
after it's been
Yeah.
done with for how long?
Yeah. This is crazy.
Because
Crazy as
let's be honest, like that ran way more than GameStop,
yeah,
and
this is
and
like
yet they didn't shut this off, but they shut off GameStop. It all depends on
yeah,
who's making the money.
yeah, exactly.
Like
Criminal,
retail was making money. Oh, we'll shut it down.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think I made about I bought I think what just something super tiny, like 5 shares or something, and I think I made like 20, 25 bucks off of it.
Yeah,
Related my Starbucks gift card for that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have anything insightful here. I would just say, yeah, just watch I think is a FXI.
there is a
Yeah.
gap. Right, there's a pretty large gap up.
It gapped up today.
No. I'm saying there's a pretty large gap. There's been a
Yeah.
gap there. There's a gap above it.
Oh,
Right.
there's gaps everywhere. Holy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like so if you zoom out a little bit,
Excuse me.
yeah, you're fine.
Oh my God. Excuse me. Didn't mean to choke up on.
No, you're fine. Zoom out a little bit.
Yeah.
There was a pretty major gap on here. Like there's
Can I
tons of
go to like
gaps.
weekly?
Period. But even go higher. Yeah, go the
Yeah.
weekly. But
Oh my God.
see that big gap though. It never filled. Like and it's up in like the 40s. I think there's a gap in the 40s. I think that I
Hmm.
saw.
Yeah, there's
There's
a
a gap
small one there
there,
around
and there's a gap
42.
higher than that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's definitely a gap in the
Like the
40
45 range, and then if you scroll back a little bit more,
far.
go to the monthly, just real quick. Oh, you know what? You're on iShares China ETF,
Hmm. What should I look at?
HKD.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was looking at the FXI just because that is the tracks Chinese stocks.
Yeah, go the daily on this one. But there's a
Yeah.
huge gap. See that gap right there?
Yeah.
Like that's in the 600. Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's probably never getting filled for as long as this trades. I mean, you realize what it takes to fill
yeah, I
so
mean, there's tons of stocks that do that, and they never
yeah,
fill.
so
But like BBBY did that after Cohen sold. It was in the 20s.
yeah.
I'm like, caps
Yeah, maybe
fill.
maybe it's not such a bad idea. Like, I mean, this stock's at what, like $22 a share right now.
Hmm.
Why not buy 10 of these?
And
And
just
then,
see.
yeah, if it goes to, tries to fill the gap to $700, that's $7,000 that you can make.
Just saying.
Maybe, yeah, if you have money to burn. I mean, maybe I will if I can get my account.
They have options
Solid.
on this, or is this shares only?
This is shares only, but like, this is basically, I think of this as like an option with zero theta. You know, basically like hold it for as long as wait till it's either delisted or
Yeah, it feels like app.
yeah, yeah, because like I can make people a lot of money very quickly, even if it ran back to what like
200.
250.
Yeah.
Yeah, just 10 shares. I mean, at these prices, like that's all you need. You don't need to YOLO the portfolio to even capture a fraction of that move. Like that's like it'll definitely go again. And obviously I think the Chinese market is probably where we're going to be in the next couple months or so, and you're clearly seeing that in the price action. So I think if China recovers first, then maybe HKD gets
Another
nice
pump.
little pop back into the 50, 60, 80. Who really knows? You can't really chart something like this. Not when it's like as blatantly manipulated as it is, or pumped and dumped, which obviously happened here. Got to call it like we see it here. So, okay.
All right, man. Well, good talking to you. I was gonna say
Yeah, likewise.
I'll catch up with you tomorrow in the chat. I've been away. It was busy today, so I'll try to get in there, talk a
Yeah,
little bit
sounds
more.
good. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I mean, obviously got things to do. I'm going to be fairly busy in the afternoon. I have to give a presentation on some research tomorrow, mid afternoon, but I'll be around otherwise.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's definitely going to be
Yeah,
checking in on like
yeah,
game
we'll
alpha.
see what happens with the meeting, right?
Yeah, so
All right,
I don't know.
let's see what we thought is gonna what we think is gonna happen is gonna come true. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's
Well,
on
I'm
here.
I'm in the boat.
Yeah, no matter what happens, it's live here, and we're gonna be able to look back and go, yeah, we were totally wrong, or yep, we nailed it.
Yeah, I'll just I'll buy a straddle and ride it to Nirvana. That's how I'll play it that way. I don't have to guess on the direction. I just have to guess that the move's gonna be
Be
significant.
bigger, yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, man. Good talking to you.
All right. Likewise. Yep.
Uh,
Thanks everybody, and we'll talk again soon.
yep. Have a
Okay.
great night, guys. All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good night.
All right, guys. Well, you guys have a great night. Thanks, DZ, for coming on and talking to us. And let's see you guys in the chat. If you're not part of the Discord, you can join us. It's free. And I will put a link in the the chat box at the end here. Okay, here we go. There it is. If anyone needs it should be in that chat box. All right. Have a great evening.